My family and I come from a city called Preševa, which is in the border of Kosovo and Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore. Even though I was born and grew up in an occupied country, my family and I were very happy. My mum was a fashion designer, my dad was a primary school teacher. We used to play outside with my cousins, we led a very happy life. In 1999, everything changed. On March 1999, war broke out. Serbian troops entered Kosovo and tried to drive out all the Albanians. Our towns were invaded by soldiers and police, and our people, our family and friends were killed. A couple of months after the war began, my mum woke us up and told us that we had to go because the soldiers put a threat to us. If we didn't evacuate, then they would kill us all. Everyone in the street was very friendly and we all had a very close relationship. So when we had to evacuate, we all went to my uncle's cellar. There were already bombs outside. It wasn't like fireworks today. It was bombs that would shake in your mind and would terrify you inside. Walking down the cellar was like, entering a different world. Babies were crying, mothers were crying because any time the bombs could have caught them and killed them. But we felt much safer in the cellar than we did in our house. The feeling of making it through the morning was an amazing feeling because every minute and second of the day you had the fear of being killed, either by a soldier or by a bomb. For a few nights we slept in my uncle's cellar, and during the day we'd be back home. One day we were playing hopscotch outside when we saw some soldiers entering the gate. My father was talking to them, but I couldn't understand the Serbian language because I only spoke Kosovan. But I could see the look on my father's face whilst he was talking to them. I could see that he was terrified and I could see that he was worried. The soldiers obviously must have said to him that they had to leave together with my father. In Kosovo, if you were taken by a Serbian soldier, the things that we heard about other people, there was no coming back for you. The day that my father was arrested, I felt as though someone had killed me as well. My soul ended there. The reason I felt that was because I loved my father very much, and I didn't think I would be able to live if my father was killed. My dad was in prison for 3 days and 3 nights in Serbia before he escaped and returned to us. The minute that my father returned from prison, my parents decided that we should, immediately leave the country. We decided to go to the Macedonian camps. And even though it was quite far away from us and we had to walk, through mountains and forests and stuff, we still decided to go because it was safe for us to be there. During my journey to the Macedonian camps, I experienced people being killed, people being chopped to pieces. I saw houses being burnt, the whole villages and cities being destroyed. With every step that I took, I escaped death, and every second of that time, I had the fear of being killed. When I entered the camp in Macedonia, I saw the camp full of tents. There were loads of tents, and I also saw the place surrounded by a fence. The Macedonian camp held thousands and thousands of people, unfamiliar faces. It was very crowded, and it looked as though it was like a prison. Once we entered there, there was no really going back. We lived in the tent only with our belongings and a few blankets, and we had to sleep on bare ground. During the day, the weather conditions were very hot. It was up to like 40 degrees. During the night, it got, it was cold. Went to -1 or 2 degrees. Regarding food, we had coupons. Sometimes I had to wait the whole day to collect the food because there was so many people collecting it. The food was very, very basic. It was just like basic stuff: bread, milk, and we had some fruit as well. And I know this sounds bad, but my family was quite wealthy and stuff, and we were used to eat much nicer food. Not just bread and milk. So that was very hard for us to adapt. Even though we felt we lived like in a prison, we had the feeling of safety and of security, and that we knew that we wouldn't get killed over there. One morning, my father went to check the list where you would find out where and when you're going abroad. My family didn't really expect to go abroad at any time, but my dad, just out of curiosity, he went just to check, and he saw that my family's name was there. When my father told me that we were invited to come to England, it was an amazing feeling for me. All I knew about England was it was in the middle of the sea, and people were crazy about football, so that was my only things I knew about England. A part of us were glad that we were leaving because we knew that we would be safe, but a part of us obviously was sad that we were leaving our own country and also leaving our other family members behind, because as far as we were concerned, we would never see them again. The first time I stepped to England, I was at Leeds airport. I could just hear normal things, I didn't hear a bomb. It was quiet, it was peaceful. I felt free, it was an amazing feeling. Me, my mother and father, my brother and my sisters together, we were all happy, we all felt safe. 5 years ago when I first arrived in England, I only knew how to say my name is and hello and goodbye and that's it. But for 5 years, this is me now. I go to school, I have friends, I lead a normal life, which is, I couldn't ask for more. I hope to stay here and finish my education, and, when Kosovo calms down a bit, I hope to go back and get married. In Kosovo, at the moment, there isn't actually fighting or bombs going on. That stopped because the UN is in Kosovo, but it's impossible for a whole city to rebuild itself for 5 years, so it's still in the process of being rebuilt. The British government eventually decided to let me and my family stay in England until 2006. Some families still have the fear of being sent back. Sometimes I feel a bit jealous because even though I live a very happy life and I'm very safe and I couldn't ask for anything more, Kosovo is still my country and it's still my home and it's still where my roots are, and I wouldn't change that for the world. My message to you is, if you're given just enough time and just enough money to live in peace, then be thankful and live that time to the full.
I was born in Mauritius, a small island in East Africa, in Indian Ocean. Economically, it's not a rich country, it's not a poor country. Everybody live comfortable. Life in Mauritius is very nice, but very simple, and it's just an island. And particularly for me, it's quite small because I want to know more. A friend of mine invited me to visit Italy, but my dream is to live in Europe. So I decided to go with her. When I arrived in Italy, it was great. A big country, very nice. My friends helped me to find a job in Rome, babysitter, housekeeping. And then after 2 years, I met my husband. We had 2 children, Francesco and Melody. I found life in Italy for them were very difficult, and I was worried for the future.
At school, some of the people were racist towards me because I had darker skin than they did, and some of the teachers too. It made me feel sometimes really sad.
I was so fed up in Italy, working all the time, hours a day, and at the end of the month, the pay is only for what we have to live. Pay the bills, pay the house, pay everything, and that's it. Not have anything to save. And life carried on like this. And I was really frustrated, fed up, and everything. When Melody has 10 months and Francesco 8 years, we decided to move to England because I want the children to learn English and have a good future. And for myself, to not doing housekeeping. We have some information from my partner's friend, some of the address of Italian restaurant in Clapham Junction. Unfortunately, my partner didn't find job. We were living in a camper van on a car park, and it was terrible. It's not big enough to move and do everything we have to do in this camper van. But I was very, how I say that? I was sure I'm in the right place. That. One night it was very, very, very cold, and two policemen, they came. They asked us what we do here, so if everything fine, everything. So we tried to explain them our situation, what we're doing here. And then they told us that you have to go to see the social services because you can't stay on the street. We went to the social services, but they say by law they can't do too much for us because we came from Italy. Of course, if you said Italy, people will say, how could you say you have problem? Italy, very big country, nice food, nice, everything is nice. There is a security guard, spoke French. He told me about Citizen Advice Bureau. We went to the Citizen Advice Bureau, and then they said, here we have a system called legal aid. Your partner, he's European, so that means you entitled the legal aid. And then they gave us an address to see a lawyer. We went to see the lawyer, and she helped us to find a bed and breakfast. We had a temporary accommodation for 2 years. After 2 years, we had a house.
It feels really great living in England because the schools are mixed, so I don't experience racism anymore, and it's much better than Italy. Yes!
I speak French, English and Italian and Creole as well because this is my language, and I wish to become an interpreter. I started English classes in 2002, and now my English is quite good, and I help the others, and particularly if they speak French.
What type is nurse name? What?
Ça veut dire quelle heure? At the moment, there are a lot of discussion about immigration, but I think I need to find the right system to give opportunity to people who really need. It's not fair to some people abuse the situation. My life now in England, I feel everything I was thinking bit by bit is start to realize, and I'm happy. I'm very happy.